Hey everybody, Andy Stickel here. I get a lot of lawyers asking me how to improve the quality of their videos. So I brought in our social media manager. His name's Chris Vanderkay, and he's going to teach you 3 ways that you can improve the quality of your videos when you're recording videos for social media. Check it out.
Hey guys, it's Chris Vanderkay from Social Firestarter. I wanted to talk to you today about something that people ask a lot about, which is when they're making a video, there's a lot of questions that fall into this one big category, which is like, how do you know you're doing it right? Just turn on the camera and I start talking. How do I know how to start? How do I know how to end? How do I know if I've done a good job of clearly answering the question? How do I know if I've gone on too long for the question, right? All of these are sort of related questions that boil down to the same thing. Do I have a structure in this video that's clear, that provides information, that moves in a clear direction, right? Is there a compelling structure? So I want to answer that by giving you 3 things that you can put into your videos that will help you keep your structure for your videos clear to you and to your viewer. The first thing is what I call your signatures. This is usually what's going to come at the beginning and at the end. I call them the signatures, even though you're not actually signing anything. I call them sort of vocal signatures, right? When you open, you're always going to open usually with something similar. You'll see oftentimes Andy will say, hey guys, I'll say, hey everybody, or whatever the phrase is, right? There's a specific cadence to whatever it is that you're doing that sort of introduces you into it, right? And the same thing for your conclusion, for when you're wrapping up. You don't want to just stop talking, right? And if you've ever watched a video where someone's talking about something and they're an expert and then they finish the sentence. Okay, I'm sorry, was that the end of the video, right? So you don't want to leave them like that for 2 reasons. And the same is true of the opening, right? Each of those is serving 2 purposes. You want to have an introduction because you don't want to just dive cold into the information because you want to give them a minute to acclimate. But also at the beginning is your opportunity when you're introducing yourself to also do like a soft name check of your expertise, right? When I say, hey everybody, it's Chris from Social Firestarter, right? When I say the phrase Social Firestarter, if you're watching this, you might know what that is. That gives you some sense of who I am and what I do, right? I'm not necessarily plugging myself, but it does give me an opportunity to mention something that I do. So you get a sense that there must be some field of expertise I'm working in. The same goes for the end. It should be doing 2 functions, right? You're wrapping out so that you're not just stop talking and disappear, but at the same time that you're closing out, you want to give what they call the soft call to action, right? This isn't where you put pins to their ankles and like you tell them that they need to do something, but you can offer something that seems friendly. I think the way that Andy often will phrase it is, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll point you in the right direction, right? What that does is that does give them an offer to be able to execute something, right? But it doesn't feel pushy. It doesn't feel like a sales tactic. It feels like something you would do for a friend if they were having an issue, right? So in concluding the video, you have also given them a soft call to action. You've given them the opportunity to say, oh, you know what? I have a question about that. And he said I could contact him, so I'll go ahead and contact him. So that's the first one. Your signatures are a way to keep this framework going really well. And if you get used to them, they'll stick in your head to the degree that you don't have to write them down. You have to keep track of them anymore. You'll just do them. So that's the first one, is the signatures. The second one, I often say, if you can find a way to take your things and break them into a number of points, that is a very effective way to do a video. Because then you've got a name for it, right? The blank ways of doing this, right? The blank steps to being bankruptcy free. The blank ways to get a will written. I'm not a lawyer, but you understand what I'm saying is by breaking it down to here are the number of steps that we're going to go through. This does 2 things. It does one good thing for you because it gives you a direction. You know how many beats you're going to have in this now, right? You know there's going to be 5. So you know your video, if each one of these things is, 30 to 45 seconds long, you have an idea not only of how long they are, but then you'll have this point at which you've stopped talking about one thing and you move on, right? It's a clear structure and it's helpful for you. The other thing it does, no one wants to admit this, but if they start looking at a list of things, they want to get to the end of the list. It's psychology. For whatever reason, when we put bullet points on things or we put a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on things, people want to stick around to the end. As someone who has looked at way too many BuzzFeed articles and lists of the greatest whatevers, I know that this is true, right? Even I, who am aware of this psychologically, still do it myself. So if you can utilize this effect, it helps you to keep it structured and directed, but it also helps them to want to stick around, right? So that's the second one. And then the third and final one is what I call the straw man and the real man, right? What this is essentially is, the way I boil it down is, if you're just telling someone, here's a thing you should do, that's helpful, but it's often more helpful to get to the thing that you should do after you've talked about the thing that you shouldn't do, or the thing that's going to be a problem if you don't do, right? That's why I call it the straw man, real man argument, right? The straw man's that's the bad idea that's easily knocked down, theoretically. And then the real man is here's what you should do. I don't know if anybody remembers, there's a magazine called Highlights Magazine that it's basically in every dentist's office in the world or every child's waiting room anywhere. And in there, they have a little magazine, a little section called Goofus and Gallant, right? They're brothers, and one of them always does the wrong thing, one of them always does the right thing. Well, the order is Goofus and Gallant, right? It's not Gallant and Goofus. You don't start with the good thing that they've done. You start with the bad thing that someone did, and you can show the negative effects of it, then move on to the good thing, right? Then it looks better because it looks like a good decision made instead of a bad decision, right? So that's the three things that you can utilize that will help you to give your video structure, right? And I'll talk about how you can do that as I go back through them again, right? The first one, the signatures. What does that do to give you structure? It gives you a clear opening that you're starting with and a clear closing that you're closing with, but it also calls them to action at the end, and it softly gives them a sense of your expertise at the beginning. So those are good things for structure. The next one, the number of points. It obviously works. We've seen it in numerous things, but I did it in this video, right? Of the three things that I'm telling you about. This is number 2 of 3, and you'll remember that, right? And then the final thing of the 3 is the straw man and the real man. And the way that that works to help you structure your argument is if you know you want to tell them this piece of information, if this is the good thing they're going to do, you know that comes last. The thing that has to come first is the goofus, right? Goofus and then Gallant. You got to start with the straw man, then work your way to the real man. Then once you've explained what the real man does, they see it in contrast with what the stupid decision was, right? So that's what we're looking at, those 3 things. And if you can use those effectively, those elements of structure will make a big difference in the way that you think about your ideas and the way that you execute the ideas when you record them.